All right. This is IXL A1, determine the main idea. You have to read a short passage and then figure out what you think the main idea is. I'm not going to lie to you. I've helped people with these. Sometimes they're kind of tricky. So just be careful with it and really think it through. Naming Pluto. When Planet X was discovered in 1930, astronomers began debating what to call it. An 11-year-old girl named Venetia, maybe? Bernie suggested the name Pluto to her grandfather, who passed the idea along to a friend who was a professor of astronomy. The professor, in turn, immediately forwarded the suggestion to scientists at the Lowell Observatory where the planet had been discovered. The astronomers appreciated the fact that Pluto was the ancient Romans' name for the god of the underworld, making it a fitting moniker for such a cold and distant celestial body. In addition, its first two letters matched the initials of Percival Lowell, the astronomer who first proposed the existence of Planet X. The matter was eventually put to a vote, but with Pluto the hands down winner. So this is all about how the planet Pluto got its name. So after an 11-year-old girl suggested Pluto, astronomers chose it as the name of a newly discovered planet. Pluto is a good name for a cold, distant planet because it is the name of the Roman god of the underworld. This is just one little detail from here, and it's just one reason why they liked it. They list other reasons why they like it, so I'm going to go with this one. Pay inequality. In 2015, when the U.S. women's soccer team won its third World Cup title, the broadcast of the match had more viewers than any other soccer game in television history. Yet, despite their prowess and fan support, the women's team makes as much as 62% less than the men's national team, according to a complaint filed by women players. The men's team earned $9 million for reaching only the 16th round of the 2014 World Cup. In contrast, the women received just $2 million for winning the 2015 title. In friendlies, games that don't count toward team rankings, the men were paid $5,000 per game plus a bonus of up to $17,625 for a victory. Women, on the other hand, earned just $3,600 per game with a $1,350 bonus for a win. So it sounds like they're using soccer to explain the difference in pay between men and women. The U.S. women's soccer team was paid only $2 million for winning the World Cup title in 2014. In spite of their success and popularity, members of the U.S. women's soccer team are paid significantly less than their male counterparts. I'm going to choose this one because this is just one of the details. They talked about the friendlies games too that showed the difference between. And, this could just be a low number and the men could get paid low too. So this is just one detail. It is capturing that idea of pay inequality. What's beneath your plane? As Shane Loeffler, a geology student at the University of Minnesota, was flying home from Europe, he looked down at the landscape and began to wonder what he was flying over. He realized that a plane flight would be a good opportunity for people to learn about the geological features of the earth below them. As a result of this experience, with a grant from the National Science Foundation, he created a free app called Flyover Country. The app provides users with information on natural formations, man-made features like dams, and even where fossils can be found. The features are pinpointed on a map that corresponds to the landscape below the plane. Shane Loeffler's plane flight home from Europe led him to think about the geological features of the land below him. Shane Loeffler's experience in a plane led him to create an app that would provide information to flyers about the land below them. It's not just about the app, so I think this is going to be the better choice, and this is too specific. Oh, but I was wrong. So that's the thing that's hard, is that sometimes these are tricky. African wild dogs, ultimate predators. Many books, papers, and television shows have created an image of the African wild dog as the ultimate predator. According to these sources, the dog's coordinated teamwork and their unusual endurance help them catch about 80% of their prey. A 2012 study tested that notion. Researchers fit a pack of wild dogs with special collars that recorded the dog's positions and speeds. The data that the collars recorded allowed the researchers to learn what the dogs did when they weren't being observed. The results provide a surprising contrast with the dog's fierce reputation. The dogs never use teamwork in their hunts. They chased their prey over short distances as opposed to long runs, and instead of 80%, they brought down only about 16% of their prey. So, African wild dogs have a reputation as fierce hunters who work in teams, but new data suggests otherwise. A study shows that African wild dogs catch about 16% of their prey and do not use teamwork in hunting. I think this encompasses more because it explains that they have this reputation, but there's data that suggests otherwise, where this is more of a specific detail. Publishing Dr. Zhivago, Boris Pasternak's 1956 novel, Dr. Zhivago, tells the story of a Russian doctor living at the time of the 1917 Russian Revolution, which led to the establishment of the Soviet Union. Because the book dealt with hardships people faced after the revolution, publishers in the Soviet Union refused to release it, calling it anti-Soviet. Pasternak's solution was to have the book smuggled out of the Soviet Union and published in Europe. Though Soviet authorities tried to prevent it, the book was published in Italy in 1957 and was immediately well received. In 1958, it was translated into English and went on to become one of the most popular novels of the 1950s. So Dr. Zhivago showed the problems that Russians faced following the Russian Revolution, so it was considered anti-Soviet. Boris Pasternak couldn't get his book Dr. Zhivago published in the Soviet Union, so he had the book smuggled out of the country. When I look at this one, it covers the problems and that it was considered anti-Soviet, but this one explains that it had to be smuggled out of the country. I don't know. This one is tough. I think I'm going to go with this one, I think. I'm so on the fence, though. Nope, I was wrong. What does it say? A main idea is the most important. Some details are about how publishers in the Soviet Union refused to print it. Other details, okay. I think it could have gone either way, though. The importance of Japan's cherry blossoms. In the northeastern United States, autumn is particularly colorful. Leaves change from green to red and orange, and many Americans take scenic fall foliage trips. In Japan, a similar phenomenon takes place in the spring. Cherry trees erupt in a shower of pink, and the entire country celebrates the arrival of sakura, or cherry blossoms. Though autumn leaves are admired in the United States, they are seen as just a pretty seasonal display. In Japan, on the other hand, cherry blossoms have much greater significance. The flowers are deeply rooted in Japan's culture and philosophy. Since as far back as the 8th century, sakura have symbolized change and beauty, new beginnings, and the circle of life. The blossoms have been celebrated in Japanese paintings, poems, and tea ceremonies for centuries. Americans appreciate the colorful leaves of the fall, but the Japanese view the cherry blossoms of spring as part of their culture. Japan's spring cherry blossoms often serve as symbols of change or new beginnings in works of Japanese art or literature. This is too specific to art and literature, and this one also includes about Americans, which that comes up multiple times, so I'm going to choose that one. Eat carrots, see better. Carrots contain high amounts of vitamin A and are good for general eye health. However, carrots will not improve night vision. That myth goes back to British propaganda during World War II. In 1940, the German Luftwaffe, or Air Force, began bombing Britain at night. In response, the British government ordered people to turn off their lights. The government wanted to make it difficult for German pilots to hit their targets. A new technology, radar, allowed the British Air Force to track and shoot down the German planes without light. To keep the technology secret, the government told the media that their pilots could see the German planes because they consumed so many carrots. Consequently, people began to believe that eating carrots would help them see better in the dark. So, because of a British media campaign, people thought that eating carrots would improve their night vision. During World War II, the British government told the media that their pilots ate a lot of carrots. Yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with night vision, which the whole thing is about night vision. So, I'm going to choose the first one. April Fool's Day around the world. April Fool's Day is celebrated around the world, although it varies somewhat from country to country. In the United States, for example, it's a day to play practical jokes. In France, where the holiday is known as Poisson d'Avril, or April Fish, people secretly tape paper fish on their friends' backs. A common April Fool's prank in Portugal is to throw flour on someone. In Scotland, the most popular trick involves sending someone on a useless errand. Denmark celebrates April Fool's Day on April 1st, but some people there celebrate again in May. Maakat on May 1st is yet another day for jokes and pranks in the spring. On Poisson d'Avril, France's version of what Americans call April Fool's Day, pranksters tape paper fish to people's backs. Well, that's really specific. That doesn't really talk about any other places around the world. Today, there are variations in how different countries observe April Fool's Day. The celebrations all involve playing pranks. That's better. I am going to start another one, but I might not finish just because I'm almost out of time on my recorder. Making towers bird friendly. The lights on tall communication towers warn pilots to avoid the towers when flying at night. Unfortunately, the steady red lights often used on towers have the opposite effect on birds. The bright beams attract and confuse them. Instead of avoiding the lights, the birds fly directly toward them, crashing into the towers or becoming entangled in power lines. Millions of birds have died this way. However, there is a solution. Unlike steady lights, flashing or blinking lights don't attract birds. In response to demands from conservation groups, the Federal Aviation Administration in 2016 began requiring communication towers in the U.S. to use blinking lights instead of steady ones. So, using the title can help you too. And it says making towers bird friendly. Which one of these is about making towers bird friendly? Well, this one just says that they're attracted to steady red lights, where this one says to save birds, communication towers have been using blinking lights. So I'm going to think that I want the one that's going to match with the title, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that one was right. This one is tough. I'm only at 50 and it took me a while and I missed some, and that's just kind of how some of these are because there's a lot of inferring happening. And then you might pull something out as being more important that they don't think is the main idea. It's a good practice to do though. So be persistent. Don't get frustrated. Walk away if you do get frustrated and then come back to it later. All right. Talk to you later.